Hi, everybody. So I realized that today was Wednesday and we have Bible study tonight. So I'm going to do my reading now, and you can access the video whenever it's convenient for you. We read Genesis chapters 1 through 3 on our last reading. We're going to start in Genesis 4 today. Before a quick preview, we found out that God created the heavens and the earth. And it was a creation and not a willy-nilly explosion. I believe that. And I wanted to remind you guys that when you read the Word of God, if you don't read it in faith, you're not going to really get a revelatory understanding of the Word. Read in faith. Read believing what you're reading, and the Spirit of the Lord will give you revelation of what you're reading. It's not just going to be words or like reading a novel, but you will feel the word as you read it, and it will infuse your spirit and allow you to live a better life. So we found out that God created the world. We know that he created man and woman, male and female, and they lived in the garden. They sinned, and they were excommunicated, so to speak, from the garden. Along with that sin came some punishment. We're going to continue and see what happens to mankind from this point. Beginning in Genesis chapter 4, I'm going to read for 15 minutes, and then I have to go back to work. So, Genesis 4, and we are reading from the New Living Translation. Cain and Abel, chapter 4 of Genesis. Now Adam had sexual relations with his wife Eve, and she became pregnant. When she gave birth to Cain, she said, "With the Lord's help, I have produced a man." After she gave birth to his brother and named him Abel. Later she gave birth to his brother and named him Abel. When they grew up, Abel became a shepherd while Cain cultivated the ground. When it was time for the harvest, Cain presented some of his crops as a gift to the Lord. Abel also brought a gift, the best portions of the firstborn lambs from his flock. The Lord accepted Abel and his gift, but he did not accept Cain and his gift. This made Cain very angry, and he looked dejected. "Why are you so angry?" the Lord asked Cain. "Why do you look so dejected? You will be accepted if you do what is right, but if you refuse to do what is right, then watch out. Sin is crouching at the door, eager to control you, but you must subdue it and be its master." Verse 8. One day, Cain suggested to his brother, "Let's go out into the fields." And while they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. Verse 9. Afterward, the Lord asked Cain, "Where is your brother? Where is Abel?" "I don't know," Cain responded. "Am I my brother's guardian?" But the Lord said, "What have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are cursed and banished from the ground, which has swallowed your brother's blood. No longer will the ground yield good crops for you, no matter how hard you work. From now on, you will be homeless, wanderer on the earth." Cain replied to the Lord, "My punishment is too great for me to bear. You have banished me from the land and from your presence. You have made me a homeless wanderer. Anyone who finds me will kill me." The Lord replied, "No, for I will give you a sevenfold punishment. I will give a sevenfold punishment to anyone who kills you." Then the Lord put a mark on Cain to warn anyone who might try to kill him. So Cain left the Lord's presence and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. The descendants of Cain. Cain had sexual relations with his wife, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch. Then Cain founded a city, which he named Enoch after his son. Now, I just want to stop right here at verse 17, just to say, if you're saved, it doesn't matter who Cain's wife was. If you're not saved, it doesn't matter who Cain's wife was. That question comes up a lot. What matters while you're reading the Bible is what affects your salvation, your relationship with the Lord? Those kinds of questions take you off on a tangent. You don't want to go there, especially if you're trying to hear from the Lord or learn from the Lord how to live your life and what He's expecting from you. Pay attention to the things that affect your salvation when you read the Bible, and don't be tempted to go off on those rabbit trails. Okay, verse 18. Enoch had a son named Irad. Irad became the father of Mahujael. Mahujael became the father of Methushael. Methushael became the father of Lamech. Lamech married two women. The first was named Ada, and the second was Zillah. Ada gave birth to Jabal, who was the first of those who raise livestock and live in tents. His brother's name was Jubal, the first of all who play the harp and flute. Lamech's other wife, Zillah, gave birth to a son named Tubal-Cain. He became an expert in forging tools of bronze and iron. Tubal-Cain had a sister named Naamah. One day, Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, "Hear my voice. Listen to me, you wives of Lamech. I have killed a man who attacked me, a young man who wounded me. If someone who kills Cain is punished 7 times, then the one who kills me will be punished 77 times." The birth of Seth. Adam had sexual relations with his wife again, and she gave birth to another son. She named him Seth, for she said, "God has granted me another son in place of Abel, whom Cain killed." When Seth grew up, he had a son and named him Enosh. At that time, people first began to worship the Lord by name. Chapter 5. This is the written account of the descendants of Adam. When God created human beings, he made them to be like himself. He created them male and female, and he blessed them and called them human. When Adam was 130 years old, he became the father of a son who was just like him in his very image. He named his son Seth. After the birth of Seth, Adam lived another 800 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Adam lived 930 years, and then he died. When Seth was 105 years old, he became the father of Enosh. After the birth of Enosh, Seth lived another 807 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Seth lived 912 years, and then he died. When Enosh was 90 years old, he became the father of Kenan. After the birth of Kenan, Enosh lived another 815 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Enosh lived 905 years, and then he died. When Kenan was 70 years old, he became the father of Mahalalel. After the birth of Mahalalel, Kenan lived another 840 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Kenan lived 910 years, and then he died. When Mahalalel was 65 years old, he became the father of Jared. After the birth of Jared, Mahalalel lived 830 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Mahalalel lived 895 years, and then he died. When Jared was 162 years old, he became the father of Enoch. Jared waited a little longer before he had kids. After the birth of Enoch, Jared lived another 800 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Jared lived 962 years, probably because he had his kids a little later, and then he died. When Enoch was 65 years old, he became the father of Methuselah. After the birth of Methuselah, Enoch lived in close fellowship with God for another 300 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Enoch lived 365 years, walking in close fellowship with God. Then one day, he disappeared because God took him. What a relationship. When Methuselah was 187 years old, he learned from his father, he became the father of Lamech. After the birth of Lamech, Methuselah lived another 782 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Methuselah lived 969 years, and then he died. Methuselah was the longest living man on the earth. When Lamech was 182 years old, he became the father of a son. Lamech named his son Noah, for he said, "May he bring us relief from our work and the painful labor of farming this ground that the Lord has cursed." The Lord cursed the ground. 30, verse 30. After the birth of Noah, Lamech lived another 595 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Lamech lived a total of 777 years, and then he died. After Noah was 500 years old, he became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. He became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth at 500 years old. Can you imagine living that long on the earth? Awesome. Chapter 6, the world gone wrong. Now, these are topics from this particular version of the Bible. These words are not necessarily the King James Version topics. Chapter 6. Then the people began to multiply on the earth, and daughters were born to them. The sons of God saw the beautiful women and took any they wanted as their wives. Then the Lord said, "My spirit will not put up with these humans for such a long time, for they are only mortal